So how you both doing today?
Yeah,
Very good. Can't complain, can we?
yeah, doing all right. We got the dog here because it's his birthday today, so we wanted to, have him on the prestigious Anthony Talks podcast. So he's going to hang out with us a little bit. But yeah, we're doing okay. We're doing all right,
Yeah, we're
aren't we?
good. Yeah.
Yeah, always a pleasure to hang out with you as well. It's nice to record an episode, but it's just good to see you. So yeah, all good, man.
So so regular viewers of the podcast will recognize you, Dominic. You're pretty much a regular guest at this point.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I love it. I love coming back on. It's the best. It's always good to see. It's always good to see you. And like I said, the stuff you're talking about means a lot to a lot of people within the disability community, beyond it, in wrestling, in sports, lifestyle. So it's always good to be here, right here on the Anthony Talks podcast, getting my Mick Foley cheap plug in for you there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so, so if we take so if we start this at the start, how did you two meet for the first time?
Do you want to do this one?
Um, yeah, we actually I was 14 and you was 17.
Yeah.
And we were at like an under 18s like nightclub, like rock night, and I saw Dom and I was like, want a piece of that. Not knowing that he was 17 at the time. And then someone came up and made some sort of comment about, it was never going to happen. And then you ended up going home with one of my friends. And he got into a relationship with a friend from school. And then like we became friends, didn't we?
Yeah, we were friends for a long time. So, for perspective, we got together 8 years ago,
6 years ago.
6 years ago, yeah. And then we've we were friends before that, and
Yeah.
then it's just kind of progressed from there, hasn't
Mm.
it?
So it's
So,
been like 23 years now we've
yeah,
known each other.
yeah, 23, yeah. So pretty lucky, really.
Yeah.
So, so was it a case of you you stopped speaking for a bit, but you always reconnected, or were you pretty much connected the whole time?
We were sort of always connected,
Yeah.
but not as like obviously not as close as we are now. Certainly, we went through years because you were in Spain. I'd moved. I
Yeah.
was in York and then in other cities as well. We moved around quite a bit. So
You were doing your things, and I was doing like I've got two boys, so I was bringing up two boys. Dom was at uni and
yeah,
doing all the things that Dom does, all these like courses and stuff, which is really cool. But we'd see each other like twice a year.
yeah,
Yeah, we'd see each other like twice, two, three times a year. Because he was a quite a hard person to get a hold of.
yeah. Apparently, that's still a thing. Yeah, yeah, but then yeah, and then we got together after. So I'd come back from America. I'd been working in America for a little while. You've been in Spain, and then we met up. I'd got through quite a chaotic relationship. You'd been through a long-term relationship, and then yeah, we got together pre-pandemic, and then obviously the pandemic happened, and we
Yeah, it was like 6 months before
yeah,
the pandemic.
yeah, which I think is where that time disparity happens for me, because obviously we lost 2 years in the pandemic, so you're sort of accounting for two extra
Yeah.
years a little bit. But yeah, so we moved in together
After
uh,
a year.
after a year, yeah, after a year, I think, and then yeah, we've been all right. We've got the dog with us as well. Like I said, he's wonderful. We're very lucky, really. We've got a wonderful house. The boys are happy. So yeah, we're living the dream, man. I'm still doing creative stuff. Emma supports me to do that. I couldn't do half the things I do without Emma, really. I'm still I'm doing band stuff. I'm doing creative stuff. So none of that really would be happening without Emma. So and the dog, and obviously the boys are a great inspiration as well. So yeah, it's a dream, really. Yeah, I don't know if you feel that way.
Yeah, no.
It sucks. I hate it. Get me out of here.
Oh,
Yeah,
so we done.
yeah.
So, so, so Emma, before you met Dom, did you did you meet anybody with cerebral palsy or any kind of physical difference.
Sorry, I'm laughing because there's this whole thing. So I've got a few friends that have got disabilities. So like my one of my best friends at secondary school was called. Well, he's still one of my really good friends. So Danny's got cerebral palsy as well. Um, so I met him at a park before I knew that we went to the same school, and then we became really good friends. I had a friend when I was about 9 who had cerebral palsy as well. And I've got a few friends with disabilities basically. And it's become a bit of a running joke that I've got a thing for people with disabilities.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, so yeah, it's all good because there's a lot of people we know a lot of people with disabilities, don't you? You've always been supportive of people with disabilities, and
Yeah, I don't really see the disability. I see
yeah.
like the person. Um, so it just
I
happens
mean,
to
I,
be.
I I was the first one to get in there, not to be crude, but I'm lucky. I was the first one in.
Yeah. So what was the moment that you realised that you had a stronger connection more than just a friendship?
Um, well, I'd always liked Dom since I met him, but like he was a really good friend. And I think it was when I came back from Spain and we like bumped back into each other. And he was very much, he was lovely. He was real supportive. He was like the first ever person to say that he was proud of me. For like getting through what I did in like when I lived in Spain and my long relationship. And he was just very supportive, and it sort of just went on from there really, like just the lovely support
Yeah,
that you've always given me.
well, we're very lucky, aren't we? Yeah. So it's just easy. It's just easy. I think the best friendships and different people. I always encourage people in your channel because there's a lot of conversation that happens. Some people might disagree, but I always think relationships are about being good friends, and then you have bonuses, of course, on top of that. But like a friendship is important. It's like you're living with your best mate, and
Yeah.
you're hanging out with your best mate, someone that knows you, you know. Yeah, and that's always been the way for me. I've made the best connections through being friends with people and through connecting, and I think that sort of transcends disability. It transcends everything else.
Mm.
And yeah, so we've been really lucky, haven't we?
We have, yeah.
And Emma's really supportive of everything. Like I said, I can't um I can't say that enough, really, just how supportive Emma's been of everything I do. I couldn't really do without Emma in terms of just because there's so many things, as as someone that's busy like yourself, we're all, creative people with creative brains. We're always doing something and we're always thinking about stuff. So, so Emma helps me facilitate. Emma facilitates me to be able to do those things. So yeah, I'm very lucky, really. Very, very proud of some of the things I've accomplished since I've been with Emma that I probably would not have done without Emma. So yeah.
So when you start going out on dates and stuff, was there any was there any hesitation on either one of your part because of the stigma that people can have about in a, in a able relationships?
No, I mean, for me, I mean, do you want to talk on this first?
It literally never even entered my mind. Like, I knew people would have questions. I knew like people would ask me, about like his disability and stuff, but like it literally never entered my mind. It was never like a barrier or anything.
Yeah, this is going to sound a little odd, but in the context, like I've never been happier than I am with Emma, and I just want to preface that. But I've had a lot of, a number of relationships, and they've all been with people who are able-bodied, and it's never really been, people have asked questions and people have have said different things, but I've always just been me. I've always just tried to do the things that mattered to me, and that, again, trying to, build soundsphere and build these creative things. And of course, people come and gravitate towards that, which I've been very lucky. I've met some wonderful people, friends, relationships, etc. And yeah, if people have a problem with it, I don't really want to be involved with them, on a friendship level or otherwise. So for me, I just do my own thing, and then if people want to be a part of that, then that's always been the way. I've always just done my own thing, and then of course, I found real happiness with Emma after a lot of chaotic. As much as I mentioned those previous relationships as, some wonderful, lovely people, but very chaotic at times, probably due to me more than anything else. As you learn about yourself and you develop as a person, but found true happiness with Emma. And
I don't think there was ever any boundaries though. I don't
no,
think we ever had any reservations
no,
about
I
it.
don't think so. No, no, sorry, a long answer to, I've got ADHD, man. Long
No,
answer.
there's no problem. Take your time.
Yeah, long answer to your question, but yeah, no, I've never, and I would say to anybody, just do your own thing, if you've got a disability or otherwise, and if you believe in something and you believe in yourself, then other people naturally will want to be a part of what you do, and that's what I've always found, relationship wise, friendship wise, I've done my own thing, and people have come into my life, and I've been very lucky in that respect, but never luckier than with Emma. So
I think that's what like really that's what I noticed about Dom. That's what like I was attracted to, was like his confidence. And it just is like go get attitude. Like he just seems so confident and so happy, just such a nice person that, like, yeah, I think that was it. Like I fell for that.
Yeah. So, so, as you mentioned, as you both mentioned, you've been in previous relationships. So, so do you think being in previous relationships has helped your relationship be stronger, like in terms of connection and passion and things like that?
yeah,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah, because we've both learned a lot about each other, and like past like patterns from relationships and stuff. So like there's times where like I haven't felt confident to say what I want to feel, because what I'm feeling, because like I've always been like either gaslit or just told that it didn't happen basically. So I used to go through a phase of like sending long messages so I didn't have to face that sort of reaction. And then Dom was very open with me, and he was like, that's, that makes me really anxious. Like I don't like that. And like we started talking to
yeah,
each other.
yeah. There was like
Well, I felt safe.
yeah, yeah,
I knew that like I could speak to you about anything. And I learned that through being in a past relationship, that was a bit of a trigger for me. And you've got things as well, haven't you? Like
yeah.
coming when you come home late, like you
Yeah,
used to get really worried that.
yeah, I was going to get into trouble, because obviously I go to a lot of gigs and I cover a lot of events for work. So sometimes, I'd get, it would be difficult to do that and then have, previous relationships that, maybe haven't understood the amount of hard work that goes into creating content, as so that was difficult. But yeah, fortunately, Emma is very understanding and very supportive if I have to be out a little bit later on, and very, very lucky, really, man. Yeah. Uh,
But it definitely
we
does.
learn a lot from each other, like I say, we've learned a lot about each other's sort of patterns, and there's things that we do that we understand, and
Yeah.
we really like. Sometimes, Emma saying it's nice that Emma thinks I'm a confident person, but I get quite anxious sometimes, you know, whether it's doing interviews, not it's not with you because you're really good at making people feel comfortable, Anthony, but like I get quite anxious a lot of the time, and Emma's really good at helping me with that, and I think we both help each other with that
Yeah.
sort of thing, don't we?
And we know each other's triggers as well, don't we? We
Yeah,
know things that like can, make us feel a bit anxious, or we know that we can talk to each other, which I've never had that before, and it's just really nice, and I've learned that through past relationships.
yeah,
if you if you don't mind me asking, how does Emma help you? Just by talking to you, or just being somebody that can listen to you, put your feelings out there.
Yeah, it's a great question, man. I mean, for me, obviously, because I talk to people for a living, I'm used to talking to people, and getting their story, or obviously, from the mental health standpoint, when I do that type of work, I'm listening to people talk through quite traumatic stuff. But obviously, I have supervision as part of that counseling work, but I don't, it's difficult sometimes if I've had a stressful day. I can't just speak to my supervisor or just, you know get in that zone. So sometimes, I'll come home and I'll have had a stressful day, or I'll be feeling it, I'll be feeling tired after being stood up for a certain amount of time. As I walk with two sticks, so sometimes I can get quite exhausted. So Emma is there to like listen to me, and like, give me a hug. We'll have a little hug at the end of the day, you know, I'll have a cuddle, and that's really useful for me because I went through a long time of just kind of keeping all that stuff in because, I wasn't sure people wanted to hear about it, or, because I was working all the time, I didn't really make time to talk about it, whereas now we finish, sometimes we'll have a late day, but we'll make time to watch something on
Yeah.
TV or have a cuddle or have a talk to people, have a talk to each other rather, which I never used to do. I used to just work through, you see, that was how I coped with everything, was just working all the time. So yeah, I would say just listening and like being, having a conversation. We talk to each other about stuff. Emma's got, creative things that you're doing, the 3D printing and stuff. You'll talk to me about that, or you'll talk to me about what's going on with the boys, you know, and we'll just have,
Work
yeah,
and
work and stuff, and we'll
yeah.
just have a chat. It's really good. And then obviously we'll come and do something like this, and it's even better because we can just sit with each other and reflect on how lucky we are, really. Yeah.
So, 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 Tom, as you mentioned earlier, you've been in previous relationships. So,
Yeah.
when do you feel? So when do you personally feel comfortable about asking people for help, like in a romantic relationship? Because I know sometimes it can be a bit awkward for people.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean,
You're not the best.
no, I'm not the best. I do ask you for more help than I ask anybody else.
Yeah, he's still not the best. Like,
Yeah, no, I tend to I like to do my own thing, don't I?
yeah, like his feet were hurting really. Oh, they were hurting a lot yesterday,
Yeah,
and
I've
he
gone
was
to a
like,
gig.
I'm gonna go make a brew, and I'm like, I'll make you a brew, and he's like, you can't do everything for me, and I'm like, if my feet were hurting, you'd make a brew for me.
Yeah, we
So
have a little laugh about it. We don't like it's not like it's a
no, it's not an
yeah,
argument.
yeah.
It's like, oh, fine, just do it yourself then.
Yeah, yeah. I'm still
Stubborn.
I could probably yeah, I'm probably a bit stubborn,
It,
but
it always needs coming on, but it's also because you don't want to feel like a burden on people.
no, I know it's an interesting point because I hear that from a lot of my clients and a lot of people that I know that have disabilities. I don't feel like a burden. I think because I know, like, since I've been with Emma, and this is going to sound a little odd, but I know my worth. Like, I know that I am useful, and I know that I am important to Emma. So it's interesting that you bring that up because I don't feel like a burden with Emma, but I do, I want to be. Um, I want to be as helpful to Emma as I can be. Do you know what I mean? I want to do I don't want to be like, because Emma does a lot for me. Emma's a very giving person. So, you'll make a cup of tea in the morning every morning, which is wonderful, which I love. You'll do a lot for us all because obviously, Emma, we've got the boys as well. So I don't want to add to that. I think
Yeah.
that's what it comes from. I don't want to add.
Sometimes you don't want to feel like you're a fair child as well.
Yeah, yeah, there's a little bit of that, I
Like he doesn't want to feel sometimes like, I'm getting to the point where I feel like I'm mothering him.
yeah.
That's what it is. It's
Yeah,
not like he doesn't want to feel like he's being mothered. He doesn't want to feel like I'm mothering him or that I feel like that. And I don't feel like that. I'm quite happy to, because he supports me in so many different ways. But yeah, but you also you do have a good point. You want to keep moving around,
Yeah, I've got to
you
keep
know.
active, man. I mean,
And I could make him bruise all day long,
yeah.
quite happily, but then he's not getting up off his, you know.
As you know, most of my work, as as you as well, we do a lot of work like this, you and I. When we,
Yeah.
we're journalists, but we work digitally because it's easier for us on the on accessibility level. So we're sat down or laying down a lot, and I think for me, it's important to push myself where I possibly can do because obviously I have a small range of movement, so it's about keeping that up as best I can. So that's where that comes from, I think. Yeah, yeah.
So, 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 Emma, when you and Dom when you and Dom entered the romantic relationship, when you first started to help Dom, was there any fear from you that you could be hurting Dom? Because I know that does happen with some people when they first start out.
Um, I not in the beginning because I didn't quite know like what Dom struggled with. So like at his feet, your feet are really sensitive, aren't they? Like,
Yeah.
like if I was to even like knock his heel with my foot, it would be quite painful for him. So like not in the beginning, it was more when I learned like when I elbowed.
Sorry, as you got to know Dom, that's what I meant.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, as I got to know Dom, yeah, I did feel, I did worry that like, because I'm quite a clumsy person, and like, there's times where like I've gone to get off the bed and I've like knocked his foot and he's been like, and there's been times where like even on the night when I'm trying to sleep, sometimes like I'll worry about kicking him in the feet, and in case I hurt his feet because I know how painful it can be for him. So yeah, there is an element of that. I'm a bit better with it now, but I think that's because we've got a bigger bed.
Yeah, we got a bigger adjustable bed, Anthony. It's the best. It's changed our lives, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we're pretty, we get up to, without going into too much detail, we're pretty physical sometimes, in a good way, if you know what I'm saying. So,
Yeah, back to me being clumsy, like, and you can be quite clumsy
yeah,
at times,
yeah,
especially in the moment as well when we accidentally elbow each other in the face.
yeah, yeah,
Like go to put our hand down and like hurt each other
yeah,
by
yeah,
accident. It's pretty funny, really.
yeah, yeah.
The, re- the, the reason why I was smiling when you were answering that question, cause I know somebody very similar to, I know somebody very similar to you. Like they're lovely, but they're very clumsy.
Yeah, yeah, it's very much us, isn't it?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can trip over my own feet.
yeah,
Like,
same. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
and yeah, if it's not me hurting Dom's feet, it's the dog. But I do have a habit of throwing the ball off the bed and the dog just like bounds straight onto Dom's feet and he's like, oh, and I'm like, shit, sorry.
yeah, the dog. Obviously, he doesn't care about accessibility, do you, Lou?
Yeah.
He just wants to bounce on us all, and he's real happy, and he's actually very comfortable at the moment. He's just chilling, which is nice. It's a testament to you, Anthony. He's like, what's
He's
going
fast
on? He's
asleep.
fast asleep, you see. So no, we're very lucky, aren't we? Really.
Yeah, like yeah. I don't worry about it as much now, but I still am careful. Obviously, I don't want to like boot Dom in the foot.
Yeah, but it happens naturally. These things happen. I know it's not on purpose,
Yeah.
So
So, 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 so when you started to become more like a family unit, did it ever concern you, Don, that your disability could affect the family dynamic, like in certain aspects?
That's a good question. Not really. Again, because we're very lucky. We'll give a shout out to the boy's dad, Steve. He's a good, he's a good lad. These days especially, and he supports, so he's they've got this really good support network in terms of the familial kind of, connections. So for me, the boys, fortunately, they've said to me some lovely things about my influence on them. So I don't think, the boys might have a little joke here,
Oh yeah,
now and then,
very jokey
yeah, we're
family.
very jokey. They might have a little joke sometimes, good natured about my disability and stuff. But they're teenagers, they've just turned teenagers, so it's all good really. With I would say I have a positive influence on them, and
Yeah,
their dad's a
definitely.
good influence on them, and of course you as well. So I think we've got a pretty good unit, for me personally. Yeah.
Yeah. As you mentioned before, Tom, you can be quite a busy person, whether that with your counselling, whether that with your writing, whether that's with your interview that you sometimes do. So
Yeah.
I do make sure that give enough time to the family dynamic.
Yeah, yeah, man. So that's something I've recently learned. What I try and do now is, and some days I'm better at this than others, of course. But we try, like tonight we're going to go to the cinema together. So I'll diary things. Like as someone with ADHD and neurodivergence, I find it very useful to diary things. I'll try and organize myself down to the letter. Like I'll be like, I will put like I am showering on this day. I am, we're going to eat dinner at this time, for me, and that doesn't work for everyone, but for me, it's like, it keeps me organized. So I'm like, when we're going to the cinema, I'll block out time,
Yeah,
you
and we
know,
schedule days as well.
we schedule days, that's the other thing. We schedule a lot of days together to spend time with each other,
We try
you
and
know.
regularly go away with the boys as well.
Absolutely, yeah, so we're pretty good. I never used to, and that's probably why a lot of my previous relationships failed. Shout out to those wonderful people that had to put up with me for years when I wasn't organized. I wasn't organizing myself, but I'm better now. Emma's helped me really become better at organizing myself. So yeah, because obviously I've got more structure now with it being a counselor. Obviously, before when I was just doing journalism, I was all over the shop. But yeah, no. So I know when I'm doing client work. I know when I'm going to the cinema, or we're having dinner together, or we're doing
Day
something
out.
with the boys, or we're having a day out. So pure and simple is not very cool, but I just have a really stacked diary, Anthony. You know what I mean?
Do you actually, do you actually have like a physical diary, or is it just like mental notes that you
No,
actually?
I have a digital diary that I keep that that's on my computer. I used to have a physical one, but I'm terrible with keeping physical notes. But I have a digital diary that is, Google Calendar. Not that they need any more shout
Yeah,
outs, promotion or money, but Google Calendar's
you
definitely.
inspired me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I was terrible. Like I think the thing is with Don coming into our lives anyway, like mine, Jake, and Isaac's, and Steve's, he's actually helped us be more organised and given us a bit more routine because we didn't have any sort of routine because I'm ADHD as well. So like Don was always like encouraging me to use my diary, and now it's like constant
Not in like a dictator. Use that diary. Yeah, and then
encouraging and inspiring me to use it.
yeah, yeah, like a dictator. Like, go use the diary.
Yeah, it's like if you put that in your
We're
diary.
doing that interview with Anthony. Get
Yeah,
ready. That wasn't
yeah.
what it was like.
Let's say, let's say encouragement.
Encouraging, yeah, yeah, yeah,
But no, it's definitely helped, and it's helped with the boys as well. I think it's given them more of a um you know respect for time and making sure that they put things in their diaries and organize things. So yeah, it's been good.
yeah.
So,
Like I said, I had to learn to do that as well. I wasn't always like that.
uh,
So
so when do you think that moment was for you where you thought I need to take a step back? Yeah, because I'm dedicating too much time to this or that.
yeah, man. Well, again, I would say the majority of my previous relationships ended because I was pretty work obsessed for a long time. I still am a little bit. I love what I do, but I think you just realize as you get older, there's more to life. Obviously, I'm very privileged to have achieved some cool things. As you know, we've done some good work, but at the end of the day, what matters is Emma's happiness and the boys' happiness, because we're spending the most time together. We're together, so. I just realized one day I was like this, and especially when I became a counselor and I realized the value self-care, etc., etc. Because I can't really be teaching or working with somebody and saying, oh, practice self-care, take time to be with your loved ones, if I'm not doing it myself. I think that was one of the key things when you train and you do mental health training. You kind of have to practice what you preach. You kind of have to be I don't ever do anything or suggest anything or signpost to any of my clients anything I haven't done before. So yeah, that's really important. Really, is I just realized that Emma's time and the boys' time, I have to respect that, and it's that I'm very very lucky and privileged that they want to spend time with me. And honestly, I did hurt a lot of people in previous years just because I was choosing, festivals and traveling and stuff, which is great, and I'm very lucky. And I think a lot of that is due to Emma's understanding because I still do a little bit of that, but. I'm a lot better now at,
Yeah.
respecting other people's time, I think, than I used to be.
So you mentioned that in your previous relationship, though you're really focused on what you were doing, your work.
Yeah.
Do you think that was because you were I don't want to say afraid, but you were a bit like I'm probably gonna mess it up anyway, so I might as well do this.
I think if I mean this is where you're a great interviewer because you're digging deep into the stuff. I think that I think if we had like 5 hours I could probably use you for a therapy session myself as to why that was. I think when you grow up with I'm again very privileged to have come from a family of people that have run businesses or been successful in different ways. So I think that's where that came from, was just this desire to prove myself and a desire to prove myself to, the outside world, to other people,
People that
to
doubted you.
yeah, to people that I meet and to the people I was in relationships with, and and that kind of thing as well, So there's that proving the worth or being worthy of people's love or attention or time. And I think there's less of that now because I
Yeah,
don't have.
it is still there, but it was more to your detriment back then.
Yeah, yeah,
But I think now you're better at it.
definitely, yeah, I would say so. Just to reflect, I think I've become better. But I was just work obsessed because I was trying to prove myself. And as you get older, obviously, I'm approaching 40 at the time. I mean, I just turned 39, Anthony. So I think as you get older, the last few years, you kind of like, well, I don't need to prove myself anymore. I'm lucky to have done everything I wanted to do, whether that was be in a band and go on tour, or travel the world, or work in a different country. Obviously find a relationship where I feel valued and hopefully feel, well, I know that you feel valued. And I think that's
The-
important. The difference was I used to be like, oh, I hope you feel this way. Where I know Emma feels that. And I think that's really cool. I've gotten to a point where, not only do I feel lucky, but I know that that I am of benefit to your lives and
Yeah,
so I feel valued naturally now rather than trying to prove myself so that I feel valued. Do you know what I mean? I don't need to do anything to earn like Emma's love, the boys' love, the dogs' love. Do you know what I mean? They just love me, which is wonderful. And because as you do in a relationship, you see each other in their best and worst moments, and
Yeah.
and that can really teach you a lot about people. So, I'm very lucky in that respect.
So for anybody that might be tuning into this episode that might be on the younger side or maybe hang on, let me start again, sorry.
Of
So
course.
so anybody that might be tuning into this episode that might be thinking, oh, it's never gonna happen for me, I'm never gonna find somebody, what would you advise, please?
I would say do your own thing without trying to sound. I mean, you as well, Emma. We've been in. We've had love. We've experienced different things. I've been in. With plenty of wonderful experiences, relationship wise, friendship wise. We've learned things, good and bad. We've had a lot of life experience. And I would say just do your own thing. Do the things that you love, and people will gravitate towards you, whether that's a relationship or whether that's a friendship. If you do you and you believe in yourself, then other people
yeah,
will gravitate towards you. Do you know what I mean? So I would say just find what matters to you and what you believe in, and do that to the best of your ability. Really love, whether that's volunteering or whether that's looking after something, looking after somebody, or whether it's starting a magazine or starting a YouTube channel or whatever. Do that, love that, believe in that, and then, as you know, because you have a global audience for your channel, people will invest in time and energy and attention. And like I say, it might lead to friendships, it might lead to something a little bit more. And so that, I mean, that's always been the case for me. I would say just do your own thing, be because people can't ignore. But to quote Cody Rhodes, become undeniable. I've put myself in a situation where I am valuable and useful, thankfully to Emma, to the boys, to the dog,
And other people have helped.
well, and that's it. That I'm lucky to have helped a lot of people, and I know that is, and I'm not talking about on a, but I know that is attractive to people because people want to be a part of that. And I'm not talking about on a relationship level, but friendships, friendships are born from that, connections are born from that. Because I do things that make that I love, and you found that as well. Like obviously, like you care for people, and Emma's one of the most empathetic people I've ever met in my life. And obviously, you're now doing your 3D printing and selling that stuff, and that's benefiting people's lives. So that formula is what we're talking about. Do something that you
Yeah,
love.
I think for me as well, it's doing stuff even if it scares you.
Yeah,
So even if it's scary, like the thought of what, if you're in an interable relationship, then or you're considering getting, asking someone out who's abled or disabled, whatever, like just do it anyway. Because like at the end of the day, if you don't do it, then you're not moving forward. And I think, some people's other people's prejudices could sometimes hold you back. And I just think if you just go for it anyway, like what have you got to lose? If it wasn't going to work out, it wasn't going to work out. But if it goes somewhere, then happy days.
absolutely. And you never know. Again, I would say to anybody, you never know what you're missing out on. I got some moves, man. No, I'm kidding. No, you never know what you're missing out on. And I think you're right. Society, as you may find, and I find every day when I go out there, man, like different people assume different things. It doesn't matter what I've achieved. It doesn't matter what I've done. Different people assume different things. They make comments out in the world or whatever. But at
Yeah,
the end of the day, if you believe in yourself and you've got wonderful friends and a connection, like the kind that you've cultivated on your channel, for example, it doesn't matter so much, and I would say those comments are always going to be there, and that's one of the sad realities of the world we live in. People are always going to comment, people are always going to assume, so just do you, do something that matters to you, really, that you really love, and people will come to you, people will gravitate towards you
Yeah.
because of that. Do you know what I mean?
Do scary shit.
And do stuff that, because at the end of the day, you know you'll probably, you don't want to look back and be like, I wish I'd tried that. There's very little, I can't think of anything that I'm like, I look back on and go, I wish I'd done that, because usually what I've done is I've gone, right, I'm going to try it anyway, and it's led to some wonderful experiences. And if not, because not, it's not all sunshine and roses, man. Sometimes things go wrong, but at least at least you've worked, so you can see.
Well, everything's the experience. Everything's a pathway to learn something new. And if it goes bad, it's gone bad, but you won't know if you don't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the key for relationships and life, just if you want to do something, just give it a shot. And if it goes wrong, it might go wrong, but you've learned from it, but it could go wonderfully well, So that's what I would say to anybody is just do what makes you happy, and try and block out the noise, because there is noise, of course, society, social media, etc., assumptions, etc. So just do what makes you happy, and if you meet somebody that you want in your life who's got a disability or is neurodivergent or whatever, just be a part of their lives, connect with them, because you never know what you're gonna miss if you don't. I don't know what this is, but if you can't see, I'm thrusting. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Sorry, Lou, I've woken the dog up. Yeah, yeah.
the, the, I, so I would say, like, life is too short, and and unless you love yourself, you can't expect somebody else to find, to find what I'm gonna say is you you just need to live your life to the fullest that you can do, and you have to learn how to love yourself before you try to love anybody else.
Agreed, absolutely. And I think these are things, I think it's really important to mention, these things are, people say these things a lot, right? So people say these things a lot, and they're said a lot. They call them cliches, right? You can't love
Yeah,
somebody, but they call them that because they work. They're used so often because they're, people like, oh, that's cliche.
Becomes a bit
Well,
white noise, doesn't it?
it's cliche because it works. You're right. You cannot love anybody else until you love yourself. It's used often because it's right and because there's something to it. And that's why people are like, oh yeah, but everyone says that. They say it because it's true. You've got to love yourself before you can love somebody
but
else.
I also think it's important that you react to it as well. Like you can't just say it, you have to
Yeah,
implement it in some kind of way.
absolutely, man.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's what I mean by the white noise. Some people are just like in one ear and out the other. Oh, it's just another statement, like Don was saying. Oh, it's cliche, but yeah, if you actually act on it and do something with it, then that's when you see changes, and and
Yeah.
that's the thing with getting into a relationship with someone, or like I say, with someone who's disabled. Just do it, man. Like you say, life's too short. Like.
Yeah,
But, so I wanna be respectful of your time. I have two more questions.
of course, man. It's
The,
all good.
so, for the people out there that still might be questioning themselves, yeah, how long did it take you to be comfortable in a relationship
I
for
think
both of you?
we were pretty excited about being with each other, weren't we? So it was pretty,
I think we were very, very lucky because we were friends for such a long
yeah,
time.
yeah,
And we knew each other not to be honest, we didn't know each other really well, did we? We had like an idea of each other and
yeah,
stuff. But like, yeah, it was pretty quick. I mean, to be fair, for me, I think I struggled a little bit because I was like, I'd always been told things about myself that, by others that weren't very nice. So I was like, is he gonna work out the real me and then not like me anymore? So like that was like quite a constant thing, but I'm definitely better with that.
yeah. No, I'm
But
really,
but what I just about to lay that question, but do you think society can put too much pressure on people to find a partner at a relatively young age rather than taking their time and just seeing how it plays out?
yeah, yeah. I would say to anybody, and that's one of the key hacks that I think is in life at the moment. For people is like take time to be with yourself. I know that sounds a little odd, but take some time out for yourself to figure out who you are because people do hop between relationships, very, very quickly because of society's pressures and different things like that. And I think one of the key things that I've noticed with people as I've gotten, as I've become a counselor, for example, is the people that are the happiest are the ones that have taken time to figure out who they are. Like we said before, you love yourself. And I think so and I do think there's a societal thing. I think it's a little bit better now, and I think young people are a little bit better at it, advocating for themselves. Because I think obviously I'm a little older, so our generation was like, you go to school, you go to university, you get a job, you get married, you have 7 kids, and that's your lot. And that was like how our generation and like our parents were raised. I think people are, in my opinion, I think people are a little bit better now. But I would say, yeah, take some time to figure out who you are and the things that you love before jumping into a relationship.
So said to me as well. So like I lived on my own for a year, before me and Don moved in together, and he said to me, he was like, everyone should live on their own for at least a year.
Yeah, man.
To be able to find out who you are and how you cope on your own and how you experience being on your own, because a lot of people do rely on other people for a long time, and it is, you do learn about a lot about yourself being on your own. So it was a really good thing that you did.
That's cool, man. And I wouldn't have had. You'll remember because we met at the time of the wrestling kitchen. back in those days,
Yeah.
and without the wrestling kitchen and living, I had a housemate at the time, but it was obviously different than being in a relationship, and that was really transformative. It was one of the best periods of my life because it allowed me to figure out who I wanted to be, the things that I loved. Obviously, I trained and qualified as a counselor during that time, so it was a really transformative period for me to go into then living with Emma and the boys, and the dog. So we're very, very lucky, really. But I would say to anybody, take time to be with yourself, and just because people do, society puts pressure. You're right, social media, etc. And this is just my opinion. Obviously, if people in the comments want to disagree or they want to they want to pipe up, feel free, of course. It's a conversation, but it's just my opinion. But I do think people need to be on their own for a little bit to figure out who they are and who they want to be, and also the kind of people they want to be with as well.
So, so, so my last and final question: what is one quality that you think is the best quality of each of us?
That's a great question, man. Mine's easy. It's Emma's empathy. If I was going to be X-rated, I'd say something else, but I'm not going to for the sake of your audience. There's plenty of things I love about Emma, but in terms of personality, which is of course paramount, it's Emma's empathy for crucially for other people as well, beyond our house and beyond, out in the world. You take care of people. You're not judgmental of people. People come into our lives. You're very, very welcoming and supporting. I love watching Emma interact with other people, just because she's very giving and understanding. You've obviously become better at boundaries. I think both of us have perhaps been taken advantage of at different times in our life for various reasons. So you've gotten better at that, but I still think you've maintained your empathy for others and for just that, just seeing how Emma interacts with the boys and how much the boys have so much love for Emma is a beautiful thing. Because you could have, without going into too much detail, you could have repeated a cycle, but then you chose not, based on our upbringings, but you didn't do that. You were very, Emma's very, very empathetic, very good with the kids, very good with older people, very good with people with disabilities, very good with people, all manner of people, all manner of, have benefited from Emma's, empathy and understanding, very, very giving, very supportive. You can always reach out to Emma for a chat, and I think that's one of many, great qualities that I admire about Emma pretty much every day, because every day I see it in a different form. So that would be my. I know maybe it's a little, overused, but I would really say, because obviously I know Emma, I would say better than a lot of people. The empathy, based on what could have happened to you and how you could have been based on your upbringing, I would say, is a really admirable and beautiful quality. Yeah,
So,
it's all right.
yeah, I think for me it's well, there's two really. So like Dom's drive, and the reason why I say Dom's drive is because like it's not just like working hard in work, it's working hard to help people, which then comes into his empathy, but also like his drive to be a better version of himself. And I've seen that over the years. Like obviously we've known each other a long, long time, and like just seeing Dom grow as a person, and picking up on some of his traits that he's changed over the years for for your own benefit as well. But like he just helps everyone, and he just literally like all the time he just helps people, he cares about people, he will go out of his way, and that is part of the drive, because even if he's tired or he's not feeling well, he'll still go out there to help people. And he helps himself, like with his counseling and stuff, like you passing your you're doing your level 5 and 6, and passing your level 4 in counseling. Like his drive is just always to help people, and it's just the nicest, it's just beautiful. And I like hearing him, same thing, I like hearing you interview people, help people, motivate people, inspire people. You're amazing.
Well, thanks, love.
That's all right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Uh,
it's his drive. He's just so driven, and and we're just polar opposites, but we seem to work with each other.
Yeah, yeah.
I can, I, I can, I can personally agree with, agree with all of that because every time I've reached out to you, Dom, for any advice or whatever, you've always been super kind and super willing to give me some of your time.
Oh, of course, mate.
So thank you for that.
No, we talk about you quite often, don't we?
We do,
You
yeah.
know, I think we joked about this last time, and I'll be really brief with it because but we, sometimes we'll just sit and we'll be having a cuddle in bed, and we'll bring, we'll just be like, so I'll finish my sentence before anybody gets any ideas. But no, we often say, we often say how proud we are of you and how like, how cool we think what you do is, and how much it inspires us, and I really want to say that while we're on record, what you do it does inspire people, and I think you see that in some of your comments, in some of your videos, and
We've said a few times about coming to visit you as well, haven't
yeah, we have, yeah.
we need to come and visit you, and like,
We've got some plans next year, which I won't go too much into because it's again for a different time, but we're going to take a bit more time for ourselves next year, aren't we? We're changing things up. So we're making some time to see people that we haven't seen and travel places we haven't traveled. So, definitely you're on our list. And we're so grateful that people like you, want to give us a platform to talk about our relationship. You know, you're so, because, we both get anxious, believe it or not. We both get anxious before these types of things, but you're such a good interviewer. And I'm not just putting you over just because I genuinely believe that. And I think the evidence, because I'm big on that, I'm big on not just putting people over for the sake of it. I think the evidence is in your channel's growth, your growth as an interviewer. People do really want to be a part of what you're doing, man. So it's to your credit. And we're very lucky to be here. So thank you for having us.
I appreciate that. I wanna thank you both for giving a bit of your time before I start doing the outro.
Mm.
Would you like to promote anything?
Well, I mean, while we're here, I might as well, right? We've got Soundsphere, we've got Screen Sphere, we've got WrestleSphere, which is of course all the spheres. We've got Soundsphere, which is the music one. We got WrestleSphere, which is the wrestling one. We got Screen Sphere, which is the film and TV one that we just launched. Those are my kind of pride and joy. My band, Strange Pink, just released our debut single, which is the first time I've had a chance publicly to talk about it. I'm really proud of it. You got anything?
I've got my 3D printing, so I can do like I can do custom orders. I do like skull plant pots that you can put on the wall. I do bird houses, bird feeders.
Really cool. I'm not just saying that.
There's loads of stuff. I
Oh yeah. Hang on.
I did
Yeah, we got
a little robot there because someone loves robots with
oh here.
a cup of tea.
It's almost like we planned to plug it, didn't we? It's almost like we planned to
That's
plug
it.
it.
That's really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm on Etsy and it's called Dead Set on Printing, and I'm also on Vinted as well.
Yeah, dead set, 2 words, dead set on printing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lou, you got anything? You got anything for Anthony? He's just wagging his tail. He says hello and he sends love. Yeah. Yeah.
Hello.
Here he is. Here he is, just woken up. You've had a great time, haven't you? Yeah, no, so yeah, we plugged. I think we've plugged.
Yeah.
We might as well use the opportunity to plug ourselves right here on the Anthony Talks podcast. Thank you so much for having us, and thank you for giving us your time as well.
So thank you everyone for giving us some of your time. If you like this episode, please give it a like on YouTube, and if you're on Spotify, then just keep keep promoting it. As I said, thank you for giving us some of your time. Have a good day. Stay safe.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.